You feel like your game's not quite translating from practice to a real game, or you're not playing up to a specific standard that you want to play to, most likely it's because you're not doing specific things. You're not doing the right things, outside of organized environments, and you're not thinking the right way, And so I'm going to break down everything that you got to do in order to make that jump so you can stop feeling like, okay, I don't understand why my game's not translating. You know what I mean? I want that feeling to go away. And so if you want the result that you want, you got to follow the steps that I'm about to tell you. Number one is you have to play serious basketball outside of just organized practice and games. Like, you got to be able to go to an open gym 5-on-5 or even 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 or whatever it is and play for real, like play game. Like, if you're not doing that, on a consistent basis, at least a few times a week, your game's just not going to translate, because for number one, your body has to get used to playing that way. Like, if the only time you ever play that way is under a coach's system, then you're never going to quite play how you want to play, because you've never played super hard in an environment where it's only on you to decide what you got to do. Like, there's no plays, there's no coach telling you what to do, there's no system, there's no roles. You got to be able to survive in that type of environment and decide for yourself, like, how you're going to play, or if you're going to help, or what your strategy is going to be to stop a certain player or your matchup, or what your strategy is going to be to play better. You know what I'm saying? In a super competitive environment. And if the only place you ever play that type of basketball is with the coach, then you'll never be able to trust yourself, because you don't know what to do when the lights are on and it's really intense. And the other thing is, you have to play that way consistently, because your body just has to get used to it. Like, your nerves got to get used to intense basketball all the time, and the emotion of it and all these type of things. And if you're never in an environment, that's like that consistently, outside of the organized environment, then it's just, you're never going to see that translation happen. I promise you. So that's your first step, is like, find somebody that's going to play you 1-on-1 for real. Like, find some people that are going to play 5-on-5, and even if it's a 5-on-5, like, where everybody's not for real, at least get the matchup that's going to be for real. So the person that you're going against, like, make sure that person's going to play hard and actually try to guard you and stop you and play serious, and then when the game comes, nothing's going to be different. You're like, okay, I played this way all off season, so there's no difference. And now you know how to play, and you know how to play at that level consistently, and you know what you can do because you've practiced in that environment on your own. And so when the game comes, you're like, okay, this is automatic for me. I know my shit translates because I played for real this summer or in the spring or whenever it is. And then that's going to make it 10 times easier when you get to the actual game. The second thing is, you have to do that exact same thing, but when you practice. And so when you're doing your 1-on-0 reps, like, you can't just be going through the motions and have no type of intensity or emotion behind it. Like, you got to imagine that the game is happening, and that's how you got to practice. You know what I'm saying? Every single rep, it's like, okay, I got a really good defender on me, and they're trying to strip me. Like, I got to get into my move, be efficient with my move, and get my shot off, and do that every single rep. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to be able to practice at that level, because when it gets intense in the game and you're not used to playing at that speed, like I just said, it's not going to work, because you haven't practiced that way. You know what I'm saying? So the only real practice that you're getting on a 100% intense level, is pretty much in the game, and it's just not going to work, because in the game you can't really work on your shit. Like, it's just not going to happen. And so you got to be able to, conjure up the emotions and imagine that the defender is right there in front of you. And the exercise I always do is, like, if you can pretend that you have a tennis ball in your hand, right? Like, literally close your eyes, and, like, you can pause it and do this exercise. Close your eyes and open your hand and feel as if there's a tennis ball sitting in your hand, and, like, feel what it feels like, the furriness of it and the size of it. Right? And if you can do that in your mind, then you can do that and create a defender in front of you, because you know what it feels like when there's defense on you. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to recreate that feeling when you're doing the reps in 1-on-0, and then when you go play, you're gonna see a difference, dude. I promise you. But you have to be able to take that step and just get out of your own way and stop being embarrassed or scared to go hard or whatever it is, and practice in a way that's game-like. You know what I'm saying? And that's where you're gonna start to see the crossover from practice to games. The third thing is, you have to practice the 80-20 rule, right? And I got to start calling this like the 90-10. Majority of the things that you do in the game is going to be very, very basic. You're going to do a catch and shoot, a one dribble pull up. You're going to cut and get a layup. You might have a quick post up, fast break, contested layup, free throws. Like, you got to be able to master that stuff, because that's going to be majority of what you're doing. You're not just going to be getting into your bag all game long at the top of the key in a one-on-one and let me do these 7 moves that I've been practicing. Like, you're not going to do that shit. It's just not happening, because you got to think about it logically. A good coach, or your coach, whether they're good or not, they think that they can come up with an offense to create points. And so they don't really need you to create points when they're like, okay, if you can't do all these little things, you can't make an open shot or can't do the simple things, then I can't play you. So I always say, like, scoring is semi-worthless, because if you can't do all the little things and you can only score, they don't need you, because they can just draw up plays and get points. Like, why do they need you to score if you can't do little stuff? All right, but if you can do all the little stuff and you can score on your own, you're probably going to be one of the better players on your team. You know what I'm saying? So scoring is kind of one of those weird things, but the little things matter, dude. Majority of the game, you're going to do the most basic stuff on earth. And so master that stuff and practice that stuff. And if you need help offensively with, like, what are those things, like, you can go to my website and get the programs. Like, that's what I make those for. People really do get results from that stuff. But it's practicing the one dribble pull up over and over and over. It's practicing the right hand floater off the glass over and over and over, or the catch and shoot from the corner over and over and over. And that's what my programs are built around. And so if you need help with those things, like, you can go on there and get those. And you can even go to the free resources and get the the shooting map, so you can see the spots and see how to use that to practice on your own, how to practice that 80%. And so, I just want to throw that out there. Like, go on my website if you need the help, but if you already understand what the 80-20 is, then that's what you need to be mastering on an intense level. And I promise you, you're going to see the translation. And the last part, and probably the most important part, is you have to master your emotions and train your mind. Like, I always say, the mind comes first, the body comes second, skills come third. If your mind's not right, you're never going to do the work, or you're always going to be scared or nervous or something. You're never going to perform, right? And then if your body's not right, if you're not strong enough or quick enough, it don't matter how many skills you have, because somebody can stop you because you can't keep up, or you're out of shape, or your body breaks down, or whatever it is. And then that's the skills come after that. And so you have to have those first 2 pieces in place. And in this first part, when I'm talking about the mind, like, for one, you got to train the reflexes of your mind. Like, quickness starts in the mind. I always say, it don't matter how many quickness drills you do, or speed drills that you do. If your mind reacts slowly to things and you can't anticipate or think ahead, or just think fast and have fast mental reflexes based on what's going on, and be able to, like, come up with a solution on the spot, it don't matter. It don't matter how many skills you have, because you're always going to be a step behind, and the defense is going to stop you, or you're always going to get beat if you're playing defense. And so you got to train your mind to become quicker. And I think one of the number one ways to do that is to play video games. Like, I always say that I played, like, Halo and Call of Duty, all that kind of stuff growing up. And so my mind was quick, and I always played, like, some type of video games. I played board games, card games, like, whatever it was. And so I had to think all the time and think fast and be strategic in my quick thinking. And so that helped me when I played sports, because I was already used to, having to think fast and act fast and react fast, right? And so I think that's the first part. And the second part, when it comes to, like, mastering your emotions, is you got to have the right perspective about it. Like, you can't be so caught up in the result of what's going to happen. And you got to figure out how to keep the game fun. Like, the number one reason most of us starting playing is because the game is fun. Like, we played at recess in 5th grade or something, and it's like, oh, okay, I like this game, let me go find a team. And then that's kind of how you jumped on it, right? And so you got to figure out how to make fun your number one priority while going after your goals and doing all those things that you want to do. Because if it's not fun, at the end of the day, like, you're going to quit and you're going to burn out and you're not going to like it, and you're never going to reach the level that you want to reach. And so fun is always the number one priority, and have a level of gratitude. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be so caught up in the result, because at the end of the day, it's just basketball. Like, it's just a kid's game, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people who have diseases, or they're paralyzed or whatever. They live in countries where you can't even play basketball at, and there's, like, wars happening, stuff like that. And so be grateful that you're, like, a healthy person and you get to go play ball and with no issues, you know what I'm saying? And you make the team. Like, some people get cut, you know what I'm saying? Some people aren't good enough. They don't have the skills to perform. And so, I think if you have the right mindset when it comes to keeping the game fun and, having gratitude for where you're at, then you're not going to be stressed so much, and you'll be able to play free. I think that's the number one thing, is just being emotionally free and at peace with, what can or might not happen, so I really hope this video helps you, and really take these things to heart and practice what I'm telling you, and you will see the results when it comes to a real game. I promise you. I think